The world is watching genocide being committed by Israel and the United States of America in Gaza against Palestinian children, and the dam is breaking. Let's listen to Jon Stewart talk about this.
This has rocked I feel like a crazy person. I feel like I'm watching something that is so self-evidently inhumane and horrific. And to be told that I have to shut up because I risk the Jewish state by speaking out, I would say the opposite. I think not. I think they're putting the likelihood of a surviving Jewish state much more at risk with this type of action. I think they're the ones that are being if you want to define Netanyahu, with the definition of anti-Semitism, would probably have to bomb himself.
So everybody is seeing these images coming out of Palestine, and it is absolutely horrific. And what needs to be put at the center of this is that we have both Democratic and Republican politicians who are beholden to AIPAC that shut the fuck up and don't speak out about this because they're bought and paid for by the lobbyists. And this is the only bipartisanship that I see in the United States Senate and the House of Representatives is an Israel first policy. And that Israel first policy is a complete genocide of Palestine.
It's unbelievable to me. We have one independent senator that came out. I mean, seeing these images, you cannot look away and think, oh, yeah, we need to fund Israel, in my opinion.
Well, and this has been going on for a very, very, very long time. And the Democratic Party is so complicit in this. And there's a huge problem with the base. So many senators speak out about the human rights violations in deporting people. But then when it comes to this, where you see starving children, they don't say a word. I'm so sick of the Democratic establishment politicians treating their base like we're just as dumb as the MAGA base, because we're not. We see what's happening. We see all of the propaganda coming out of Benjamin Netanyahu's mouth. We see senators posing with Benjamin Netanyahu. We watch the AIPAC tracker and we see how much money they're getting, and they don't speak out about it. So you don't have any credibility when you want to speak out about egregious human rights violations that are happening in the United States of America right now by deporting people and sending them to concentration camps. You speak about that with, just so much passion and enthusiasm, and you're horrified about it. Then when it comes to this, it's crickets, and they think we're dumb. And that's the problem. I think every Democratic politician needs to do something bold and get rid of all AIPAC money. Right now, in this time in American history, in global history, it is time to get rid of AIPAC. These people want to take people like Jon Stewart, who is a critical thinker, who is a Jewish comedian, and tell him that he can't speak out against egregious genocide that he's seeing with his own eyes and hearing with his own ears because he's Jewish, and you're not allowed to speak that way. AIPAC is the thought police, and I'm just going to go and say, I don't see that big of a difference between AIPAC and the Nazis. And let me just keep building this case. Next up, here's a Israeli hardliner. He's an Israeli minister of national security. And here's what he says about Palestine. They should be crushed to pieces, starved to death, and not resuscitated with humanitarian aid that gives them oxygen. This doesn't get covered in the mainstream media because there is a whole quiet agreement that you can't talk about Israel. You can't talk about their war crimes. You can't talk about how they just openly and brazenly want to move 2 million people out of the Gaza Strip so Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, and Jared Kushner can develop it into real estate. And this is so disgusting. And until the Democratic Party gets moral clarity on this, we will continue to lose election after election after election.
When I see that quote, I cannot believe that is a minister in Israel. He is a high-ranking official. He's not some zealot. They want to destroy all of these people. They don't give a shit. And we have to give a shit for them, because this is absolutely, it's genocide. Full stop.
Think about it like this, though. When you watch or you see anything from history surrounding World War II,
Right.
and you see the swastika, I always kind of like cringe on the inside because of what happened to the Jewish people, the genocide that occurred at the hands of the Hitler German government. And I cringe. And I have empathy for that. And I have that same thing inside of me when I see what's happening to the Palestinians. And for the Israeli government to try to be the thought police and tell you that you can't care about that or you're anti Semitic, to emotionally blackmail everybody. I mean, the gig is up. And I don't have any faith in any of these MAGA politicians. They have, I mean, it's a profile in cowardice from top to bottom with every single one of them. But the Democratic establishment candidates, they either need to get on board or get ready for the base to come after them. I remember, what was this? David Hogg, he comes in and he's like, we need to start uh, primarying lackluster Democratic base politicians, and the guy that's Ken somebody, he's the president of the Democratic, the DNC.
Right.
There's video of him like crying over the whole thing. I'm like, quit being pussies, grow a spine. You can't be the party that's against special interests and the party that is exclusively anti-war and the party for human rights and still support this shit. Here's another hardline Zionist here, and listen to what he's saying. So he writes an article. This is Rabbi Shmuley Botek, and I'm butchering his name. I apologize. In the Jewish Journal, is God an anti-Semite? I have no idea what God is up to with the global resurgence of anti-Semitism. What I have to say to you is look in the mirror. The Israeli government is behaving like Nazis. The reason there is a rise in anti-Semitism is because you're killing kids, and it is deplorable. But this is where I want to get to the meat and bones of this matter. Cory Booker went nuclear on the Senate floor last night, telling Democrats to grow a spine, and he's speaking very passionately. And I just want to point out that Senator Cory Booker has selective morality. On his Instagram page, he always is talking about horrible, egregious human rights violations that the United States of America is committing against people that may or may not have legal status. We're denying them due process, sending them to concentration camps, kids being sent in front of judges without lawyers. All horrific. But Cory Booker is as silent as all get out. And just 2 or 3 weeks ago, took a picture with Benjamin Netanyahu because he is bought and paid for by AIPAC. And Cory Booker could be such a leader right now by saying, I'm giving every cent of this back because when I speak about human rights, I want to have clarity, not selective morality. Listen to Cory Booker here.
The party needs a wake-up call. I see law firms bending a knee to this president, not caring about the larger principles, that those free speech rights, that you could take on any client, why are you bending the knee? I see universities that should be bastions of free speech bending at the knee to this president. I see businesses taking late-night talk show hosts off the air because they dare to insult a president. I see people who want mergers suddenly think that they have to pay tribute to this president.
Okay. All of this would have a lot more credibility if Cory Booker took that same mindset and that same passion and applied it towards him bending the knee to AIPAC and him bending the knee to Benjamin Netanyahu. And the problem with the Democratic Party right now is we don't have credible messengers. Everything he said right there is spot on.
Yep.
Everything he said is spot on, but he is not a credible messenger because he bends the knee to the tune of tens of thousands of children. As we're sitting here right now, are starving to death. And you have Benjamin Netanyahu and all these other whack jobs in the Israeli government lying and saying that Hamas is lying. And we all know who the liars are. We all know that it's the Israeli government.
I look at Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump in very much the same light, both narcissists that think they need to lead the world, that they are the boss and they tell everybody what to do. What I wonder is, where is the empathy? Where is the empathy by these Jewish people that have lost people in World War II because of the Nazis. Where's their empathy for these people? Hamas may be in Palestine, but there are people that do not support Hamas that are dying.
Well, I want to say that there's a lot of Jewish people that oppose this. So that's at the crux of this, because AIPAC and the Israeli government want you to believe that there's only a binary choice. There are hundreds of thousands of Jewish people that have empathy for what is happening in Gaza and march with signs that say "not in our name." I just played Jon Stewart, who said, "Everything that I was taught in a home where I was raised in Judaism tells me that this is morally wrong." But the Israeli government and AIPAC and all of these lobbyists want to make it this very black and white choice. And they don't get to be the thought police. We see what is happening when you look at the before and after photos of Gaza. When you see that Israeli human rights groups in the last 2 to 3 days have come out and said, yes, this is a genocide, there are plenty of Jewish people that have incredible empathy that are pleading, don't do this in our name, because the biggest maker of anti-Semitism right now is this Israeli government, period. I mean, it's getting to the point where when I see the Israeli flag now, just like when I see the American flag on a hardcore MAGA January 6er, I kind of cringe a little bit,
Right.
because of what those governments represent. And what they're doing in Gaza and Palestine is deplorable. And when you have a Senator Bernie Sanders, who is actually Jewish, who has always had moral clarity on this issue, and then you have Cory Booker, who has taken almost $1 million from AIPAC, get up on that Senate floor and lecture everybody about moral conviction, he's not a credible messenger. If the Democratic Party really, really wants to have moral clarity right now and be the anti-war party, get together and tell AIPAC to go fuck themselves, period. You will see the base rise up and support you. This is a time to immediately recognize that this is a genocide, or immediately recognize that votes like what Cory Booker has done have facilitated this genocide. I was just in the UK, as you know, and there was a politician in the United Kingdom. I saw it on the BBC, and he said, I had voted for this before. My vote was wrong. I was wrong in supporting Israel. I'm no longer able morally to do that. The Democratic establishment could do this. They could do it today. They could do it by tonight, but they don't, because they are just as beholden to special interests as MAGA is. And that's the problem. And that brings me to my final point. The Dem polling is abysmal, you guys. Don Winslow tweets, we have to change leadership now. These numbers are disastrous and must change. The Democrats are at an all-time low, and it is because of the instance where you see Cory Booker try to be so passionate and try to take the moral high road when he can't. He can't, because we're not dumb like Trump says, I do great with the poorly educated. You have a base that is smarter. You have a base that genuinely is anti-war. You have a base that genuinely doesn't want you to be beholden to special interests that commit genocide. It's not fucking rocket science. It just isn't.
No, I completely agree. We have got to stand up for people in this country and in Israel, and continuing to support what's going on there. It's horrible.
We have to stand up for all of these Palestinian children and all of the mothers and all of the people that are getting bombed to smithereens in an active genocide wherein the United States of America and Democratic senators are complicit in it. And here's the fucking problem with AIPAC, you guys. They wanted Trump to win.
Right.
And so they donated millions and millions and millions of dollars to get this regime in place in the United States of America. And it shows you what little respect Benjamin Netanyahu has for the United States government, because he's bombing Syria, he's bombing Iran, completely committing a genocide in Palestine. And so they wanted him to win. But at the same time, they also give money to the Cory Bookers of the world so that they will shut the fuck up. And so this government, the only bipartisanship that I see out of the United States Senate right now is a pro-genocide policy. And so until the Cory Bookers and the other senators that did the little photo op Kuntz, I saw in there, Klobuchar, I saw in there, and others, until they really, really become credible messengers and divorce themselves from this money. We're going to continue to poll lower and lower and lower because the Democratic base isn't fucking stupid. All right, that's all we have. I'm back from vacation, fired up, ready to go. We'll see you all later.